Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us today for our 5 ways to recession-proof your freight business. My name is Bradley Zaitzoff, and I'm the Director of Marketing here at Tailwind, and I'll be the moderator for today's webinar. And I'm sure many of you already know our main presenter today, the implementation specialist and customer success superhero here at Tailwind, Lynda Clare. Lynda has over 40 years of experience in transportation, from working in operations to being a financial controller. She's seen and done it all. Hi, Lynda. Great to have you. Oh, I think you're still on mute there, Lynda.
There we go. Sorry about that. Hi, Brad, and thank you for having me.
Good thing we got this going here now. Now for just a bit of initial housekeeping. The webinar is being recorded and will be sent out to all registrants in the next day or so. And while webinar attendees are on mute, if you have a question, please send us a message in the question box. You should see that just on the slide there, and we will respond to them at the end of our presentation. Now, for those new to Tailwind, we're a transportation software company focused on helping small to mid-sized trucking companies, freight brokerages, and those businesses that do both. Now, since launching our true web-based TMS offering in late 2016, we've made over 250 enhancements and updates to it, making it stronger so it can help folks like all of you be more effective and resilient when there are economic bumps in the road. Now, before we get into the rest of the presentation, I have just a quick poll question for our audience. Now, with Halloween right around the corner, we wanted to find out what our audience feels is the scariest traditional Halloween costume. Is it Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, a Wolfman, or a DOT auditor? So let you guys see the picture there. Let me get that poll up and see how people feel. I've always liked Dracula myself, but we'll see what the audience feels.
I'm going to vote for you, Brad, on your marketing shticks.
Looks like there's a heavy favorite over here. No, not very many people are afraid of Wolfman at all. Yeah, let's see. I think looks like we've actually got most people voting now. So let's just give a couple more seconds for people.
Just to get you used to voting on the polls, everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Brad likes to throw some comedy in there.
So we'll close the poll and we'll share the results. So it's the DOT, the dreaded DOT auditor is indeed the scariest of them all, and that that briefcase is the one that sends chills up my spine, really. So well, those results get back to the presentation, and with that, I'll turn things over to Lynda.
Thanks, Brad. Hi, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us today. As most of you are already aware, the transportation industry is very cyclical. So in the best of conditions, there is an abundance of freight matched with an abundance of trucks. And the worst, well, freight starts to dry up. It is considerably easier to run a successful trucking or freight brokerage company in ideal circumstances. But it's how we adapt when a freight recession hits that often determines who survives when the dust settles. Well, we don't like to have to think about slow times. It is a virtual certainty that things will come full circle. And while there's no shortage of analysts and experts yammering on about business strategy and synergizing this or that, you're likely looking for something a bit more practical so that you can be prepared for the tough times if and when they come. That's why today we will cover off 5 ways to recession-proof your business. 1, controlling cash flow. 2, knowing the status and state of your equipment if you're a trucking company, or the status and state of your carrier partners if you're freight brokerage. Using data to make better decisions. Forging strong customer relationships. And 5, optimizing your front and back office workflows. Brad, why is the optimized workflow point a skeleton?
That's just what PowerPoint suggested. It must be a Halloween thing.
Okay, that's great. Let's dive right into controlling cash flow, everyone. This is truly one of the biggest challenges of trucking companies, especially since all of your costs are paid out up front, like investing in your equipment, whether tractors or trailers, operating authorities, insurances, driver retention, fuel and maintenance costs. And these are all monies that are put out before you even move the load 1 mile down the road. Then the flip side of that coin is that we very often have to deal with slow paying customers. Put the two together and this puts an incredible strain on your cash flow. Did you know that your receivable starts depreciating the minute you issue the invoice? And the longer you carry that invoice, the more it depreciates. That said, we all need customers, slow paying or otherwise, to move loads for. And in today's highly competitive transportation world, customers can sometimes have the upper hand. But there are things you can do to take the control back. Vet your customers. Conduct credit checks, trade and bank references on them. Learn from their other vendors how they pay their bills, and if they do so in a timely manner. A bit of work at the front end may well save you from working for a customer that is slow paying, or worse, one that regularly doesn't always pay. Keep notes on your customers, including all the ways you have vetted them. Make sure you are using a TMS that allows you to easily see these notes, along with the capacity to run reports on each individual customer. Building a relationship with a customer while showing them you are genuinely interested in how they do business will help to strengthen that relationship. A happy customer will tell other customers about your service and will increase your book of business through the word of mouth. State your terms. Make sure your terms are clearly stated on both your credit application as well as your rate advisories and invoices. Send a rate advisory to the customer before moving the load for them. This can serve well to nail down the terms of the movement as well as the terms of the receivable. Stay away from load boards wherever possible. These aren't the best loads nor the best rates, as the load boards inflame and encourage more competition, which typically leads to lower rates. The heyday of trucking ended in the 80s with deregulation. Prior to that period, we all had to file our tariffs, which kept our rates protected. Today, we are in a constant battle to bid the job high enough to make a profit and low enough to get the load. Finding customers that are more interested in your service levels rather than your freight rates will help you achieve a better and more consistent level of profitability. And I guarantee, with a little persistence and customer care, you can find those customers. So look for actual customers, not loads from a load board. Foster a relationship with them. Become an integral part of their team's supply chain and be a partner in their success. Now, after you've vetted your customers and have established that relationship, there's maintenance work to be done. Don't sit back and just move their freight. Work your receivables. As mentioned, your invoice starts depreciating the day you send it off to the customer. The longer it remains unpaid, the more depreciation hits and affects your available cash. Remember, sitting on your receivables can be extremely hazardous to your financial well-being of the company. So make those receivable calls. Start the day an invoice is due to you and make a weekly call until that invoice gets paid. That old adage of the squeaky wheel gets the grease is absolutely true. Keep on the payables person at the company you are collecting from with phone calls and emails. Work your receivables weekly at the very least and make notes on the customer record so you know the promises made previously. And Brad, for next time, no receivable person in that screenshot looks that happy.
Yeah, thanks, Lynda. I'll make note of that.
Good.
Got a similar haircut to you, though. So, you know.
Oh, there you go. Okay. We want to run AR reports weekly. Running an AR report to keep track of your receivables on a weekly basis can be very beneficial. Making notes on customer records as to the conversation that was had during this receivable call can help you to understand your customers' payment schedules. giving you a history of this particular customer's tendencies. Sometimes it's better to walk away than accept a load from a customer that pays in unacceptable terms. Remember that your invoice starts depreciating the day you send it. Brad, I believe we have a poll question about this point.
Yeah, we do indeed. We wanted to find out how many people in our audience have someone dedicated to working receivables. So do you have somebody there that's dedicated to just making those calls? Yes, no, it's part of somebody's job, or are you maybe watching this webinar while calling people about money that they owe you? All right, so, well, this is a plus. It looks like people are paying attention to the webinar at least. They're not on the phone, at least everyone that's voted. Or maybe those that haven't voted are actually on the phone calling. So
there you go.
Give a couple more seconds here.
I suspect it's part of someone's job.
Oh, that's looking good. All right. We'll just close that poll and share the results. So yeah, it looks like it is part of somebody's job, but a few people, or a good chunk actually of our audience does have somebody dedicated to it too. So that definitely should help.
That is great. You bet. Thanks for that, Brad. All right. So the next thing we want to talk about is setting those credit limits and adhering to those limits. Set a limit of the exposure you're comfortable with. Find a software that will restrict your dispatcher from creating loads for a customer that has reached their credit limit. Dispatchers don't often care about how much money a customer owes. Their job is to find loads and to keep the wheels turning on all the trucks in your fleet. Use software to your advantage and set credit limits so that a dispatcher cannot unwittingly expose your business to more risk than you are willing to accept. Now, the last item in cash flow to speak with you about is waiting for and working those proofs of delivery. This one process is by far the most important in managing your available cash flow. Most customers will require a proof of delivery before accepting the invoice for the movement of freight. Waiting and relying on drivers to get those PODs, drivers or carrier partners, to get those PODs back to home terminal by traditional means can cause a serious delay in your invoicing process. Are you in a position to keep financing your customers? Are you in a similar situation as one of our customers? They moved around 50 loads a month, so they had 50 invoices to go out. The time it took to get a POD back to their office, have it processed and attached to an invoice, then mailed and finally delivered into their customers' hands was up to 30 days. Just think of all that money that's sitting out there. Even if the interest on the cost of each of those loads was just $1 a day, they were losing out on $1,500 a month. What if we showed you that there is a way you can invoice your customers on the same day as delivery? Would that be worth it to you? I think so, to your prospective businesses as well. With Tailwind's POD Complete app, you can do exactly that. When you dispatch a load to a company driver or owner-operator, not only will Tailwind's POD Complete app send out all the instructions to the driver, it will let the driver send the signed POD upon delivery back to the TMS database, right from the driver's cell phone. Once a POD is uploaded on the driver's cell phone, it will flow through the electronic world, attach itself to the invoice in question in your database, and be ready for sending with the invoice. It's going to show your back office people that a POD has been submitted, and then they have the ability to send the invoice out to the customer by email. You can actually have an invoice in your customer's hands day of delivery. Imagine the significant impact this would have on your cash flow. Invoicing your customer day of delivery instead of waiting days, perhaps weeks, for proofs of delivery to get back to your office for processing. Let Tailwind's POD Complete app do the processing for you. Quicker invoices sent out to customers, and not to be overlooked, less time spent by your staff chasing and scanning paperwork. Tailwind's POD Complete app can do all of that for you. Now that's cash flow, everyone, perhaps one of the best areas to pay attention to during tough economic times. Brad, do you have another poll question for us?
We do, Lynda. So I want to find out how our audience is currently getting PODs back to their home office. And in this poll, you can actually select more than one option if you're using more than one there. So are you using a courier or TransFlow? Maybe, you're waiting for the driver to get it back to your office. Maybe you're already using POD Complete, which, would be great. Or maybe, being Halloween, maybe it's a witch on a broom that ends up flying it into you. Oh, it looks like the witch is actually pretty popular.
Oh.
Or maybe just don't tell the person that that brings them in. That's how you feel about it. Excuse me. Looks like most people are voted. So I'll share that out with folks here. So it's a good mix, and we do have a significant chunk people are already using POD Complete. So that is great to see. That's great to see.
I don't like seeing that 42% driver brings it back. Look into another service, because that really ties up your time when you're waiting for the driver to bring it back for you. For sure. All right. Thanks for that, Brad. Now, the number 2 item I want to share with you will be split. One for trucking companies and one for freight brokerages. And those of you that do both, well, you're getting 2 tips for the price of one. Let's begin with our tip for trucking companies. It involves your equipment, so your tractors and trailers, and knowing their maintenance schedule. If you're doing regular maintenance and servicing on your equipment, then you're already on the right path. Waiting until something breaks down on the road will end up being much more costly for you on the road than taking care of your maintenance at home terminal. Having a repair shop that you have built up loyalty with will serve you well in times of recession. Recession hits all facets of the industry, and a repair facility that you have been loyal to will in turn be loyal back with more inclination to help you out with their terms on invoices. Also, having a TMS that will allow you to easily see at a glance all the services and work that has been done on a particular piece of equipment will allow you to make good business decisions on which piece of equipment is making or losing money for you, and ultimately what to do with that piece of equipment. As well, having a TMS that allows you to schedule work on your equipment and remind you when a scheduled service is due will help you stay on top of those maintenance items. Good record keeping for maintenance and services can help mitigate those emergency repairs that will always cost more on the road. With a comprehensive TMS, you can also track on driver performance and behavior, from traffic violations to accidents and cargo claims. It is all about information and having somewhere to store this information so you can analyze it to make good business decisions. Now, this tip is for our freight brokerages out there and covers managing your carrier partners. Building long-term relationships with your carriers will serve you well in times of recession. A carrier is far more likely to work with a company they know pays them on time. Having a TMS that will allow you to track on your carriers, set specific terms for each carrier, and that has a check run screen so you know when you're paying your carriers will build that loyalty. Having access to rate history so you always know what you have paid a particular carrier for a movement, or having immediate access to rate histories on all loads gives you an aggregate amount for a specific movement and can help you react quicker and nail down that preferred carrier. Vetting your carriers is just as important as vetting your customers, everyone. We well know that when you broker freight, the ICC, DOT, and NSC require that you are vetting and hiring reputable carriers. Having a TMS that allows you to vet your carriers and track on compliance details like motor carrier numbers, access to their safety rating from Safer Watch, and track on their certificate of insurance will enable you to make smarter decisions regarding who moves your loads. This will also further enhance your customer relations as you'll be able to deliver freight more effectively or efficiently which in turn builds greater trust with your customers. Now, the third area we're going to talk about is all about data. You spend hours and hours inputting the data into your TMS or just even Excel spreadsheets. Don't let that data just sit and not do anything for you. While most of us realize the importance of knowing how many loads you've moved for a customer, often we don't take the time to drill into our data to look at costs and where we can save money. With the transportation industry being so very competitive, trucking companies and freight brokerages don't always have the ability to control rates. Rates for movement of freight are heavily influenced by outside factors that you have no control over, like how many empty trucks there are in the area, other companies quoting on the same load boards, etc. So if we can't raise our rates, let's see if we can reduce our costs. Now, this can be as simple as extracting data from your TMS and sometimes using Excel to further dig into it. Knowing the cost per mile for each truck, for example, will allow you to make better decisions on the loads you take for that truck. Why take a load that has a revenue rate per mile lower than your cost per mile? Knowing which tractors or trailers have high maintenance expenses on them will give you the ability to make decisions on whether to trade that piece of equipment out of the fleet and replace it or keep it rolling. Knowing which sales reps are bringing in profitable loads for you can allow you to further incentivize those sales reps so they keep bringing those good loads. Again, you have the data at your fingertips, especially if you're using a TMS like Tailwind. So use that data to help you make better decisions. Let's have a quick look at Tailwind so I can show you some of the very useful reports for just this purpose. Hang on, I'm just going to display my screen here. There we go. Okay, let me make sure I am showing the correct screen. Brad, am I showing the Tailwind screen? Can you please let me know?
You are indeed.
Okay, thank you very much. It gets a little confusing for me, everyone. Okay, so first of all, we're going to look at some rate histories. Here under customer records, every single record that you set up in your database will have the ability to access a rate history. Clicking on this rate history is going to let the application show you every load you've ever done for this particular customer. You can drill into it by a specific lane if needed, whatever you want to know, the weight, the equipment carried. We also have rate histories on vendor records, so very useful for our freight brokerage companies out there. Setting up your carriers, clicking on a rate history will allow the application to show you every load you've given this carrier partner. Now, it doesn't stop there. Here under Tools, we also have all-encompassing customer and vendor rate histories. These will show all historical data for you. So I can now drill in, put in a specific lane, and see exactly what I've charged a customer in the past for that lane, as well as what I've paid my carriers in the past for that specific lane. So this is not for only great access to historical data, it's also a really, really good rate negotiation tool for you. Let's go to the report section for a quick second. We've got all kinds of built-in reports here. We have those APA agings, AR agings, trial balances. We have sales reports where you can drill right into reports based on a particular sales rep or account rep. We've got operational reports that are going to return KPIs by customer, and we have equipment reports that will return KPIs by piece of equipment. So that's just a quick look at some of our reports. I'll let Brad take the screen back and we'll carry on with this. Oh, there we go.
All right. Can you see my screen okay now?
Thank you, Brad. I can. Thanks very much for that. All right, the fourth item I want to talk to you about is tight customer relationships. Now, we did discuss some of this in the first item, cash flow, but it's very, very important to build strong relationships with your customers. Customers are the lifeblood of your business, so you need to build those strong relationships with them. Call your customers regularly and build a personal relationship with them. Hopefully, your TMS will allow you to create tasks as you can be reminded when it's time for a check-in call. Making regular check-in calls to your customer will serve to put you and your company in their head and make it evident to your customer that you care about them and their business. Providing great service and giving regular tracking updates will keep the customer coming back to you for their transportation needs. Customer service is often seen as a lost art, so it is important to realize how valuable this can be in retaining customer loyalty. Now, customers today can also be demanding. They might be calling you every 5 minutes with questions or need information outside of regular business hours. Using a TMS that has a customer and carrier portals can be a great addition to your customer service arsenal. A portal where customers can simply log in and see all the loads that you are moving for them, see tracking notes, or access PODs can give your customers the ability to gather the information they need quickly and easily whenever they need it. Think about how frustrating it might be for one of your customers to have to be on hold, waiting for a dispatcher to give them an update. Let your customers access their data on their own time frame with Customer Portal. Brad, I think you have another poll for us.
I do, Lynda. We want to find out how people in our audience currently manage the customer relationships. So do you already use a TMS, or do you have a generic CRM? Are you managing it all on Excel, or do you just fill them up with candy? Lots and lots of candy.
Candy for me, please.
I'm getting ready to steal a bunch of my kids. I'm thinking I gotta explain to them how Reese's Pieces are actually bad for them, and that Papa should take them all.
Oh, I need to have a talk with your kids.
All right, we'll give people a couple more seconds here to see how they're managing their customers.
Sounds great.
All right. Okay. Looks like candy's a pretty effective one for quite a few. Oh, it's gone down a little bit. We do have some healthier I guess people out there too. All right, that looks like most have voted too. I'll just share the results here. So most are using or a lot are using a TMS, which is great.
That's
some
great.
are like a more generic CRM. A few still on just Excel, and their candy, is always popular. So
Halloween is right around the corner. Thanks for that poll, Brad. So the very last item I want to talk to you about today is optimizing your workflows. It's all about saving time and optimizing these workflows. Tight workflows will help to free up your staff so they can spend more time working on the business instead of in the business. Let me explain that concept. It's a really valuable concept. When running a business, there are two important functions. Working in the business, data entry, dispatching orders, invoicing, and receiving payments from your customers. These are all necessary tasks that can also be time-consuming and not add much value to your business. They take away from working on your business. When you're working on the business, you're building the business. These include things like looking for new customers, strengthening customer relationships, and finding new ways to improve your customer service. There's quite a difference between working in and on your business. Having good workflows allows you to spend less time working in the business and frees up valuable time to work on your business and ultimately grow it. Having a good TMS will help optimize your workflows. An all-in-one TMS will create your orders and all the various reports you need, like invoices, load confirmations, trip manifests. And a TMS with tools like a POD complete app, customer and carrier portals, ability to send SMS messages and email. These are all features that will make workflow processes easier for your staff and free them up to provide that good customer service you need, and also work on your business and help it grow. And don't take my word for it. When we surveyed our Tailwind TMS customers, 85% said they felt that the TMS reduced paperwork by 25% or more. 88% felt 50% more organized. And 84% saw over 50% more efficiency in their admin and ops. Most importantly, 61% felt they were able to grow their business by 25% or more using the Tailwind TMS. That's some pretty cool stats that will help you. Unless you have all your processes fully dialed in, you simply can't afford to sit back and just keep doing things the way they've always been done. So if you're already a Tailwind customer, I invite you to book some time with us for a system review. I'm sure we can help find some ways to enhance your current setup. And if you're new to Tailwind, I do invite you to try out our system to see how it can work for your business. We have a free trial, and you can get started in under a minute. Brad, I suppose you have a final poll question for us?
I do indeed. So yeah, we'll want to follow up and see, does anyone on the call would like to have a one-on-one discussion with Tailwind? So as mentioned, as Tailwind, as Lynda had mentioned there, if you're an existing customer, we can discuss options for a systems review, or maybe you just have a few questions specific to your business that you'd like to ask. If you're new or newish to Tailwind and would be interested in a tour of the Tailwind system, we can set up a time for that. Or if you're interested in starting a free trial, 15-day free trial to see how Tailwind can work in your business, we can set that up following the webinar as well. Or maybe you're good for the time being, that's fine too. So just let us know, and just to let you know, this is not going to be then shared afterwards. So feel free to answer as you'd like. Awesome. Great to see people wanting to be followed up with. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
So if you're ready, Brad,
I'll close that poll.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brad. Okay, so a quick recap. We really went through a lot of information. We went over how to control cash flow, from vetting customers and working receivables, to getting your proof of delivery into the office and out to your customer faster. We touched on the importance of having visibility into the status of your equipment as well as your carrier partners. We talked about using the data in your system to calculate the true cost per mile as well as the revenue your reps are bringing in. We then went on to discuss the importance of forging strong customer relationships, be that over the phone or through a self-serve portal. And finally, how you should leverage technology to optimize your workflows. And with that, I think we'll get into our questions, Brad. I'm sure we have some questions coming into us.
Yeah, they have actually quite a few that came in during the presentation, and I invite everybody out there to keep sending them in. Looks like we have a little bit of time to go through them, so yeah, I'll get started here. So it looks like a question on cash flow. Can you recommend a factoring company?
Oh dear, no, there are far too many factoring companies out there for me to recommend one. I would caution that if you can avoid using factoring companies, that would be great. And with an option like the Tailwind POD Complete app that can get that proof of delivery back to you the day of delivery, that might help you stay away from factoring companies. There's a cost to a factoring company. But no, I'm sorry, I certainly can't recommend one over another.
Yeah, that makes sense. There are quite a few. And if I can just jump in, like, different factory companies are going to have different offers, so you're going to find one that kind of suits the needs of your business. But as Lynda mentioned, if you can limit it as much as possible by using tools, by being more efficient with your cash flow, then all the better. Margins are tight. Another question, you said you spent some time talking about vetting customers, but not much on carriers. How can Tailwind help me with this?
Oh, well, now that's a great question. Brad, can I ask you to throw the screen back to me?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Please. Thank you.
There you are, and making Lynda Clare the presenter.
Great, show my screen. Perfect. Thank you very much, Brad. So when you bring a carrier on, you get a carrier package, you get their certificate of insurance, you get their motor carrier authority. oh, I don't want that vendor. I want a different carrier. Sorry, everyone. When you have a valid motor carrier number, not only...
Lynda, I'm not too sure if you're actually sharing the screen.
Oh.
There we go.
Is it there now?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, good. All right. So I've simply opened up a carrier record because I'd like you to see where you can track information. Docket numbers, DOT numbers, SCAC codes, equipment that the carrier brings to the table for you. The most important, of course, is the details coming directly off their certificate of insurance. And when you have a valid motor carrier, our software has a seamless integration with SaferWatch. When I click on my SaferWatch here, at the the software will access the FMCSA website and will return me a complete, the details coming right from the FMCSA website on my carriers. So that's more about vetting your carriers in our TMS, Brad.
All right, cool.
Hopefully I covered that question.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, if the person follows up, we'll see. Somebody's asking, and I'm not too sure, Pierre, if I'm understanding this correctly, but you're asking, can you search for the following: Chicago, Illinois to Toronto, Ontario, all LTL? So is that like all the shipments you might have be going between the two?
Sure, you bet. Now, I suspect you're talking about rate histories. So absolutely, I can filter my information by any of the items you see listed here. So if I simply want to know anything I've moved between, let me gather some information. Let's go with Atlanta to Denver. So if I want to see everything I've moved between Atlanta and Denver, I simply type the filtering criteria in. Maybe I can put in a specific length, height, width, weight, the equipment used. When I say go, the software does just that. It filters all the criteria out, showing me only loads that match the criteria I entered. So yes, you can search your historical data by simply filtering it and get an aggregate amount of what you've charged in the past.
Awesome. Looks like we answered that one. Got a great thanks there for looks like we got a couple other questions. Actually, maybe you should keep the screen there because someone's asking, how does POD Complete get the POD back into the Tailwind TMS?
Oh, wow. No, I can't demonstrate that, but I can sure speak to it. I can't say enough about the POD Complete app. When you issue a dispatch out to a driver or an owner-operator, let me find one here, great. So you can, with our software, of course, you can simply print a trip manifest. This gives you all the details of what you want the driver to do for you. But the best part is, with the Tailwind POD Complete app, your driver only has to download an app on their cell phone. It's completely free of charge to the driver. He can download it from either Google Play or the iTunes Store. It is both Android and iPhone capable. When the driver has that app, the mere act of the dispatcher assigning the driver here sends all the information in this trip manifest out to the driver's cell phone. Now the driver delivers the load, sends you messages that mark these flags as arrived and departed, so you know your loading and unloading times directly off messages sent from the driver's cell phone. But when the driver captures the proof of delivery, it will flow through that electronic world. It will attach itself to the invoice in question and will be available for sending to your customer, whether you print the invoice or email the invoice to your customer. It's a very useful tool. I can't show you how it works because, of course, it involves the use of a cell phone, but it works.
Nice. Somebody is asking, how can I effectively ask my customers for references when vetting them? Won't that annoy them?
Oh, gosh, no. Everyone should have a credit application that asks for at least 3 trade references. You always want to know their bank. You always want to have at least 3 trade references listed. Calling those trade references, people are used to it. They're used to having those calls come into their payables team, and you will gather information. And no, your customers won't be upset about it at all. If they're not willing to sign or fill out your credit application, that's a good indication. You shouldn't be working with them.
Yeah, better safe than sorry on that one for sure. So somebody's worrying about timing here. Like learning a new system and process takes time that I don't have. How do you suggest I move forward?
Oh gosh, that's that old dichotomy of do I work in the business or do I work on the business? Getting a TMS and taking the time to implement it properly, train on it properly, is actually working on your business and will help your business. We have tons of tools available to you. We offer live training classes. We offer an in-app chat. Right here, you can strike up a conversation with, oh, maybe I'm not showing my screen, I'm not sure.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I'll change it over to you. Sorry about that, Lynda.
Thanks, no worries, Brad. We offer an in-app chat where you can strike up a conversation with any member on our support team and get an answer really quickly. We also offer lots of implementation packages where you can have one-on-one time with a trainer that's been in the industry a long time.
Such as?
We've got lots of we've got lots of tools available for you. We're here to help you be successful in the use of your software.
Awesome, and these aren't questions so much, but little shouts out from Devin Anderson. Thank you, Devin. He says they use the POD app with our driver. It's so simple to use and fast for the upload. I have a POD show up in about 10 seconds. Our drivers love it because it keeps the paperwork from getting lost in the trucks as well. Devin, thank you very much. Really appreciate that feedback.
Thank you, Devin. You bet.
Yeah, it's great to see that people are using it. It's just one of the kind of great value adds, I guess, to the system because there are no additional kind of costs for that one. Let's see, I think that's most of the questions we have. So we'll give maybe a couple seconds for people to see if they have any final. I'll put up our other information too. So just in case you have questions that come up after, you can always send them through to info@tailwindtms.com. You can give us a call, 1-866-441-0441, or just visit our website. You know, there's a lot of information that's there. And even our website has the in-app chat there, so you can be talking to us from there too. So it looks like we've covered all the questions. We'll start wrapping up. I want to thank all of you once again for taking the time to join us today. And I invite you to reach out with additional questions, as I mentioned there, if there's any way that we can help you in your business. Again, you can simply email us at info@tms.com, call the number there, however you'd like to get in touch with us. When we finish up, you'll be asked to complete a super quick 3-question survey to help us create better webinars in the future. So if you don't mind taking 10 seconds to answer those questions, we'd really appreciate it. And with that, we wish you a great rest of your day and a safe and happy Halloween. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Bye for now. Okay.